It's too early for this. It is too early to be reading this. I'm just gonna have fun. I'm just gonna have fun. Good morning everyone and welcome back to another reading vlog. We have finally entered the cozy fall autumn season, which means I can finally get started on my huge fall TBR. I'm not going to be able to get to all the books that I want to read over the next couple of months, but I'm hoping that in this video we can at least get started on them. I just have so many. I feel like the fall season isn't long enough for the amount of good releases that come out. Even as I'm filming this, there's still new releases coming out that are just adding to my TBR. I still have a lot from last year that I didn't get to that I'm hoping to get to this year. There's some releases that came out earlier in this year which I've been saving for fall because they just match the fall vibes more. The season just isn't long enough and I know a lot of them can just like roll into winter. When it comes to someone like the fantasy reads, if there's like vampires or witchy reads, then I feel like you have to read them in October or maybe into November, but I get a bit overwhelmed when I look at all those books because I just need to stop being such a seasonal reader and let them roll over a bit. So I have a lot of books that I want to get to, and in reality I'm probably only going to read about 4 or 5 books a month. I just hope that I do eventually get to all of them. I'm going to start by putting all the books on my full TBR on the screen now so you can see what we have to choose from. There's a lot in there. There's a lot of fantasies, cozy fantasies, seasonal romances, a lot of new releases. Like I said, the new releases this autumn time have just been really good. So that's what we're going to be doing in today's video. We're going to get started on my full TBR reading. I don't know all the books that I'm going to read yet. I haven't fully decided, but I do know the one that I want to start with because this came out in July this year. I put it off because it's set on Halloween night, so I just thought it's best to wait until we at least get a little bit closer to October before picking this one up, and it's finally October next week, so I thought we'll pick this one up first. It'll be a good mystery thriller to get us into the season. So the first book is going to be Not Quite Dead by Holly Jackson. I haven't read any of Holly Jackson's previous releases. I know she has a lot of popular YA mystery thrillers, mainly the Good Girl's Guide to Murder series, but I just never got round to reading those. And then when I saw that this was her first adult release and I read the summary for it as well, I just thought this would be the best one for me to read if I wanted to try her writing, and then if I do enjoy it, maybe I'll go back to A Good Girl's Guide to Murder. I don't know if I've kind of outgrown them, but I could be interested. We'll just see how this one goes first. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to reading this one, and I feel like the best way to tell you about it is just to read the Goodreads description, because as soon as I read this, I was hooked. I knew I had to read this book. So on Goodreads it says, in 7 days, Jet Mason will be dead. Jet is the daughter of one of the wealthiest families in Woodstock, Vermont. 27 years old, she's still waiting for her life to begin. I'll do it later, she says. She has time. Until Halloween night, when Jet is violently attacked by an unseen intruder. She suffers a catastrophic head injury. The doctor is certain that within a week, the injury will trigger a deadly aneurysm. Jet has never thought of herself as having enemies, but now she looks at everyone in a new light. Her family, her former best friend turned sister-in-law, her ex-boyfriend. She has at most 7 days, and as her condition deteriorates, she has only her childhood friend Billy for help. But nevertheless, she's absolutely determined to finally finish something. Jet is going to solve her own murder. That just sounds so good. It sounds so twisty. The fact that she's looking directly at her family at first and not like an unknown person just makes me think that there's just so much to uncover about her and her family as well. So I'm really excited to read this one, which is why we're going to be starting with it. It's currently 8:40 on Thursday morning and I have to get to work, sadly, which means I can't just sit here and get stuck into the book like I want to. But I'll catch up with you tonight after work when I should hopefully get about 100 pages in tonight, and then we'll have a good idea of where we're at in the book and I can start giving you some non-spoiler updates. So I'm up to 18% of Not Quite Dead and I'm enjoying it so far. It has definitely gripped me and I managed to get through that 18% really fast, so I know it's going to be one that I'm going to fly through. At the moment we've only really had what we saw in the Goodreads description. Yeah, we haven't had much more than that, but there's definitely more people because it's a very small town setting and Jet is part of like a wealthy family. I think the description said that as well. So she's one of the kids in a wealthy family, almost maybe the wealthiest family in the small town. So you are kind of getting the sense that everyone knows who this family is. Yeah, it does spread out the pool of suspects a little bit more, and there's a lot of characters. In the first chapter there were a lot of characters I had to like get my head around and remember who they were. I think even when they pop up later in the book I'm gonna have to jog my memory. She has been attacked, as we knew was going to happen, and she's now on the case trying to solve it. I think it does read quite YA as well, and I don't know if I've just got this in my head because I know Holly Jackson writes a lot of YA, but Jet is 27 but she acts very young. I don't know if it's just because she is like a kid 27 in a wealthy family. I just wouldn't be surprised if you told me that this character was like 16 to 18. It just wouldn't make a difference to me in how she acts and the things that are happening. I don't know, I feel like it could easily be YA at the moment, but we'll see how it develops. I'm sure there's a lot more twists to come and maybe it does get a bit more darker, or I don't know, there must be something that makes it adult other than just her being 27. But yeah, I have a feeling I'm gonna fly through this one. So I'm gonna stop reading for tonight or until I go to bed because Guy's got home from work. So we're just gonna spend the evening together and then I'll probably carry on reading tonight and I'll update you when I'm like much further into it and I have some more thoughts. This is my first Velvetizer hot chocolate of the season. So good, so good. Last time I spoke to you, it was Thursday last week and I was only 20% into Not Quite Dead Yet. We had a really busy weekend and I just didn't get a chance to update you, but I also couldn't put this book down and I did finish it this weekend. So we don't have a mid-book update for this one, but I'll try better for the next two books to make sure I update you before I get to the end so I can let you know what I'm thinking at that point. But this was just so good. It was so fast-paced and twisty, and I think the last time I spoke to you I said that it was feeling quite young, and while that does carry on because of Jet and her sense of humour, she has a very dark sense of humour which is so needed throughout the book because you're obviously watching as she knows she's dying and she's trying to find the person that killed her. That is a darker topic to be covering, so her dark humour alongside that and the way she acts does lighten the mood of the book a lot, and the more you read it the more I started to like that side of it as well. But throughout the book there's definitely darker topics. It does get very twisty. There's stuff going on with almost every character, and yeah, it really keeps you hooked, and it was a really good read. I've given it 4 stars just because it was really good. It wasn't 5 stars for me, but a great mystery thriller if you're after one, and it did take me until about 80% before I realised who it was, but then even then I didn't fully guess like everything. Like I kind of guessed the who but not the why, and then yeah, throughout it I just had a really good time following Jet and her friend Billy. Their friendship is just so sweet, so many sweet moments all the way throughout, and oh, the ending as well. The ending, I can't say too much when it comes to a thriller because you don't want to give away what's going to happen because that's the whole point of the book, but just know that it is very gripping, very twisty, very emotional, but also quite light-hearted, has more sensitive topics. It gets very intense at times, but yeah, that light-hearted humour throughout it. It was, yeah, really good, really good. 4 stars, the perfect start to the season and the perfect start to this video. So one of the reasons I was busy this weekend was because I also filmed my October TBR. You would have already seen that by the time this video goes up, but that also means I've whittled down the books that we could be reading in this video because I definitely want to pick from my October TBR going forward now. And the next book that we're going to be reading from that is going to be Hemlock and Silver by T. Kingfisher. This is the first book by T. Kingfisher that I've read, but I know she has quite a few sort of eerie, darker fantasies that are just perfect for this time of year. So before this one was released this year, there were already others on my list that I wanted to read by her. This one's now really gripped me and it's on my October TBR, so we're going to be reading this. This is going to be a Snow White retelling, and I think it's going to get like quite dark and eerie and quite spooky. I think that's kind of the style that she writes in, so I'm really excited to read this one. We're going to be following a healer who regularly takes poisons to build immunity to it, and she basically studies poisons to be able to find cures for them. But it looks like the story is going to take off when she gets a visit from the king because his daughter Snow is ill and he wants Anya, which is her name, to find a cure for Snow's illness. She's basically going to be taken to this other world or other dimension or something. I think she like travels through a mirror. I'm not too sure. There's going to be some adventure that she goes on to try and find a cure for this poison. I think there's going to be like some fun characters along the way and some eerie things. It sounds like it's going to be a fun, darker fairy tale retelling and perfect for this time of year. I'm really looking forward to getting stuck into it. So that's what I'm going to be doing tonight. I'm just going to get cozy on the sofa, start reading this, and I'm going to give you updates this time. I'm not going to leave you hanging. I'll give you more mid-book updates as we go along with this one. Good morning and happy 3rd of October to everyone celebrating. It's currently 10 to 8 in the morning, and I thought before we get into our next book update, I just want to take a moment and talk about The Life of a Showgirl, because I have been listening to it this morning as I've been getting ready and it's just so good. It's so good. I feel like this is definitely an album to Travis, and it just shows like how happy she is, how playful she's now being with her music, and it's just such a fun album. I've been dancing around to it as well, just some of the songs. It's so upbeat and happy, and I just love that for her. I love that she's in the mood to make songs like that and an album like this, because it's upbeat, it's fun, it's playful, like she's making fun of things. So on first listen through, my favourites are The Fate of Ophelia. I think that's a great opening track. Opalite, that actually made me get a bit teary-eyed. I need to re-listen to remember why, but I think by the time I got to Opalite, I realised like how happy she was and that a lot of these songs were for Travis, and yeah, it was just really sweet. Actually Romantic, this is one where I feel like she's being more playful and it's a really fun song. Cancelled, I think is going to be the one that most people are talking about, but it's such a good song and it's giving Reputation vibes, and I love the Reputation album, so yeah, that's going to be one that I'm listening to a lot. And then The Life of a Showgirl with Sabrina Carpenter is great. I think that's the perfect song to finish the album with. It's just so good and it's giving like The Greatest Showman vibes. Yeah, it's just such a good album. I feel like I'm just going to be listening to it all day while I'm working now, and I'm sure my favourite's going to change, but for now it's definitely The Fate of Ophelia, Opalite, Actually Romantic, Wood, Cancelled, and The Life of a Showgirl. And I feel like I need to give the other ones a listen to, because during the first like week of listening they all chop and change places. Overall it's just a really good album, and I think this is one where I've instantly liked it quicker than some of the previous albums. Like sometimes I have to do a couple of listen throughs before I really start to see my favourites, but with this one it was so easy. I was like, yes, yes, yes. It's only going to get better each time I'm listening to it, I'm sure. But let's get into the book updates, what you're probably here for. Hemlock and Silver, I'm at 32%, so 125 pages into it. It's been a bit slow so far, to be honest. It's definitely slow getting started. That's not necessarily a bad thing, because it's just the way it's written. It's very similar to the Emily Wilde books, where we're following a woman in her 30s and she's an academic woman like Emily Wilde, and she just has this kind of steady tone to the way she's narrating the story. So I'm definitely getting the sort of Emily Wilde Wilde vibes, and in the same way that when you're reading Emily Wilde, she'll occasionally go off on tangents and explain fairies to you and the way they behave and things like that. In this one, the main woman, what's her name? Anya. She's explaining poisons to you in the same way. So every time she'll like come across a plant or something, she'll explain poisons to you in the same way that Emily Wilde does. So it feels very similar to that, and I do really enjoy the Emily Wilde books. It just wasn't what I was expecting going into it. I was expecting it to be a bit more like eerie and darker and almost like gothic, or I don't know, I expect it to be a bit spookier. And that might be coming up because there's been certain moments in the last couple of chapters where I've just felt a little bit uneasy, just like a bit creeped out by a couple of things, and I don't know if that's going to be more to come now. I'm kind of hoping, because that's what I was hoping from the book, but that is why the beginning part kind of felt a bit slow, just because it wasn't what I was expecting. If you do like the Emily Wilde books, then the way it's written is very similar, and it's also nice to be reading a main character who is in her 30s and just feels like a normal woman. Like the way she's described and the way she's talking, she just feels very relatable as well. So it's been good so far. We've just been kind of getting to know her, how she got into poisons, how the land works with the king and everything like that. And it feels like now at 32% we're going to be getting more into the story and more on what's happening with Snow. Also, I feel like when I gave you the first update on this and I told you like what the book's about, I feel like I was being really dumb because I was saying like the king goes to Anya because she deals with poisons and there's something wrong with Snow. Why did it not click to me that of course he assumes she's been poisoned? That's the whole Snow White story. I just didn't click that that's why he went to Anya and like the poison. I don't know what I was thinking. I just didn't put the two pieces together. And then as well, I think I was a bit unsure like where this other realm she's going to go to comes into it, and while that hasn't happened, and I'm not sure if that is part of it, we'll see, it's obviously related to mirrors because poison and mirrors, that's Snow White. I just feel like when I was explaining it the first time, things weren't clicking, but as soon as I started reading like the first chapter, I was like, oh, of course this is happening. So you can kind of get an idea if you know the story and you remember it. It will be interesting to see the story from a different perspective and from someone that's trying to heal her. I'm also looking forward to seeing sort of what other twists and turns it takes and how much it differs from the original Snow White story. So yeah, I am having a good time with it. A bit of a slow start, but I can start to see the elements that I was expecting creeping in now. We'll see how it goes from here. So it's currently Friday, like I said, 3rd of October, and I think tomorrow we're going to go into town and do a bit of shopping, and I want to go into Waterstones and see if I can pick up the third book I want to read in this video in physical copy. And I also just want to see what they've got in there as well, because I haven't been in there while it's like autumnal, and hopefully they should have some of the seasonal reads out. So I'll take you along tomorrow. I'll show you what I pick up and I'll update you when I'm further into Hemlock and Silver. It's so grey today. I think this is the first update I've done in this video during the daytime, because all of the previous updates have been before or after work when I can squeeze it in, and we're having a lazy Sunday today and I'm going to be finishing Hemlock and Silver. The lighting in the camera still feels quite dark, so I'm not too sure. It's just going to be a very dark, cozy video, I think. I am going to be finishing Hemlock and Silver today. I got up to 70% last night and it's really started to pick up the last 10 or 20% 20%. It's definitely a slow starting book. It takes a little while to get into it, and the pacing is just very slow to start with. I wasn't very sure on it for a lot of the first half. Once you start to see what's happening and you really start to get into the story, like I said, the last 10 to 20% have been very interesting. I'm very intrigued. I'm a little bit creeped out and I want to know what's happening. Yeah, I need the answers. It's very much like a creepy mystery. Maybe that's why the first half felt a bit slow to me as well, because from reading the description of the book, I was expecting this like vast dark realm and things within it, and it's not quite that. It's a little bit less than that, but it's still something, and it's still something creepy, just not what I was expecting. And it took a little while for us to start seeing that side of it as well. So the pacing in the first half is just very slow, but if you can get past that, it does start to pick up, and I'm really starting to enjoy the characters now and what's happening. I think it's the perfect amount of creepiness for me, because I don't watch horror films, I don't read scary books, and I think this might be just as much as I can handle, because it's enough that it's kind of giving me chills and creeping me out. I do want that as well. Like, I like it when it's done right, and it's just enough to make you feel a bit spooky, like into the spooky season, but not so much that it's too scary. Like, I'm not into scary stuff, and this is kind of getting there, I think. Yeah, definitely the last 20%. I'm very intrigued and I do want to know what's happening. I'm at 70%, so I'm gonna sit on the sofa today and just finish this. Yeah, I do think this is a really good read for October. If you want something that's a bit slower paced and just a bit eerie, a bit creepy, and a bit of a mystery, it has been good as we've got further into the book. I'll give you my final thoughts when I finish it in a couple of hours, and I'll also show you the book I picked up yesterday that we're going to be reading next. A couple of hours later, and I finished Hemlock and Silver. I'm so conflicted on what to rate this one and what my feelings on it are, because that ending was just so good. Like, from when I last spoke to you, the pacing was just so much better, the characters were so much better, the world and how dark it was and how twisty everything just got so much better. So I'm so conflicted, because the first half of this story is definitely very slow paced, and I just can't stop thinking about that when it comes to rating it, because I do feel like you've got to get through that to get to the good part. And I just wish that the first like 30-40% was just done in like the first 10%, and then the story kicked off a lot sooner, because when it does actually get into it, it's just so good. And it's not as scary as I made it seem either. It's definitely like a darker take on the Snow White story. Yeah, the world that she creates, it's definitely darker, and there are some chilling moments. We kind of went past that from the last update. There wasn't really anything else that was like scary. It was just darker things happening and a darker theme to it, and I'm just so conflicted. I did mention as well that this is my first T. Kingfisher book, so I feel like if I had read some of her others, maybe the beginning part wouldn't have felt so slow to me, because I would have expected her style of writing and that it almost reads quite cozy fantasy in a way, and I would have just let myself go into it and enjoy that slow pace, whereas I was more expecting a like gripping, eerie, big other world, and I was expecting too much from it, and that's on me. That's not the story, because the story is good if you go in with the right expectations, I think. I think maybe that's all it was that my expectations were just too high, and I had thought it was going to be something other than what it was. I think I'm going to give it 3.5 stars. It's not a 4-star. The ending, definitely 4 stars. I have to knock it down a bit just for that beginning bit, because I do think the pacing is very slow, and we could have got to Snow and what was happening there much sooner, because we could have spent so much time there and expanded so much more on that as well. I feel like there were so many elements and things happening that we didn't get enough on, because we spent too much time at the beginning traveling, basically. But yeah, I do think it's a great read for October. So if you haven't already picked it up, and a cozy, dark mystery with definite aspects of the Snow White story sounds intriguing to you, then definitely pick this one up. That was Hemlock and Silver by T. Kingfisher, and I'm going to give it 3.5 stars. It has definitely made me feel the spooky season vibes, so it was good for that. Changing up the pace a little bit now, we had a mystery, we had a dark Snow White retelling, and to finish off the video, we're going to have a romance. So the book that I picked up yesterday was People Watching by Hannah Bonham Young. I haven't read her Out on a Limb or Into the Woods books, and I know they're very popular and a lot of people liked those, but I saw this one come out and I just thought it looked like the perfect seasonal read for this time of year. I am going to be starting with this one, but I'm sure I'm going to go back and read Out on a Limb at some point because it is one that I do want to read as well. I didn't realise, so I put this on my October TBR, and I didn't realise that I think it's going to be quite a spicy romance. And it wasn't what I was expecting. I was expecting like small town seasonal romance. And then I read the back when I was in Waterstones yesterday. I think it's going to be a bit spicy maybe, which I don't mind. I don't mind that in books. I just hope that in a romance that it's done in a bit more of a fun way. I guess we'll see now because I have committed to reading it. So we're going to read this one. So the back says, Prudence Welch has found solace in her introverted small town life. Despite once dreaming of something different, she now finds contentment in her routines, working, writing, and caring for her mother who has early onset Alzheimer's. But as her mother's condition worsens, Prue feels her world slipping further out of her control. Enter Milo Kablukov, an enigmatic wanderer whose beat-up van, covered with ill-advised bumper stickers, rolls into town just when Prue needs a change. It's all too easy to let go of him, and they strike up an unlikely friendship which leads to a wild and sexy agreement between them. I think they're going to start up like a casual relationship and he's going to help her loosen up a bit. He's a bit of a traveller, wanderer, but is she going to be the thing that makes him stay and settle down? That sort of small town vibes, you know, out of town guy coming in, and it's just going to be a bit more of like a casual relationship to start with. It does sound like it's going to be a fun one. I feel like it also matches the vibes of my nails. Can you see that? I got my nails done like a brown polka dot. My cuticles probably need tidying up, but let's give it closer. Definitely matches my nails there. But yeah, so I'm probably going to start this when I go to bed tonight, and I'll come back for an update when I'm about 100 pages in and I know a little bit more about what's going on. It's too early for this. It is too early to be reading this. So I'm at page 154, which is almost halfway through the book. It has been fun so far. I think I said when I first read the back of the book that I was hoping if it was going to be spicy, then that it was done in a fun way. We haven't got to the spice yet. I think it's still to come, but it has been fun in the lead up. I think if I think too much about this book and I think too much about the romance and the characters, I start to put myself off the book. But when I actually sit down and read it, like I was reading it this morning for a couple of chapters, like chapter 13 and 14 are actually quite fun, and yeah, fun is the word for the book. It can be really fun, but I think if you start to think too much on the relationship, it puts you off a bit. At least for me, it puts me off a little bit. We're following Prue, who has just turned 25, and she spent her entire adult life helping her dad care for her mum, who has Alzheimer's, and she just comes across as like a really nice, caring person. She always puts like her family first, hasn't given herself time to have a life or relationships or a friendship for herself. She's like the town sweetheart, liked by everyone, and just seems like a really nice character. And then we have Milo, who has come into town, and he's spent the last 10 years traveling the world and kind of hopping from bed to bed, and he seems to only have one thing on his mind. So I think for the role he's meant to play in the book, to like come in and help Prue kind of like give her a distraction from what's going on at home and show her that there's more to life than what she's currently been living, I think his character does a good job at that, because his chapters are definitely more fun, more light-hearted. He does just have one thing on his mind, but it's done in kind of a fun way. I haven't really been minding it. I wouldn't choose him for myself, and I wouldn't choose him for a friend either, because while there's like moments where you can see there's more to his character, there's just other things mentioned where I just don't see this being like a proper relationship. I'm having a really good time with it going in the direction of being like a casual relationship, being good for them both like right now. But if the book starts to head towards something more serious, I don't know if I'm gonna like that. That's not kind of what I'm wanting from the book. I'm just wanting this to be like a fun time, an easy read. Yeah, just something to sort of prompt Prue in the right direction going forward. And then for Milo, I don't know. I don't really know what I want for him, but I don't feel like Prue's the answer at the moment. But I am hoping we can see more of him and his family, because we've had little glimpses of it, and that would be a nice part for his story. I'm just not getting relationship material from him. That's the biggest thing. Some of the things he says, it's just so obvious that he's not meant to be in a relationship, unless the author completely changed my mind in the second half of the book. But it has been fun so far, and it's been really fast to read, a really easy read. I'm just very interested to see where the second half goes and where she takes their relationship. I'm gonna read a little bit more now, and then I need to go up to work, but I definitely want to finish this today, so we'll catch up again tonight and I'll give you my final thoughts on what happens here. The list just got me. That caught me off guard. I don't know why, but that list, the first item on the list just caught me off guard. I'm in the same spot, but it is many hours later and I finished people watching. I just have to start by saying sorry to Milo. I judged you too soon, and while your inner thoughts are very cringy and very off-putting at times, you do redeem yourself a lot in the second half. It was a lot more than just a spicy romance in the end, and I feel like when I was going into it, because I saw that it was going to be a bit spicy, I almost just assumed it wouldn't be more than a 3 stars for me. I was just like, it's fun, it's spicy, that's all it's going to be. But it actually has a lot more to it as well. It definitely has that, and I think I'm going to give it a 3.5 stars as well, just to start off by saying that, because it's definitely spicy, the spice is cringy, and there's a lot of cringy moments throughout the romance in it, but there was a lot more to it as well, because it deals with Prue's mum who's got Alzheimer's and everything that her and her dad are going through that side, and then also Milo and his siblings are working through stuff as well. I think the main thing that I liked about the story was that it had them both dealing with other subjects, but it had the spiciness to sort of lighten up the book and be a way for them each to have an escape from what's going on in their lives. I just would have liked if we delved into a couple of the topics a little bit more and got to see a lot more of their development, but I did really like it overall. I liked the 2 characters at the end. Even Milo won me over, and I loved the other characters in the book, like their families. I could do with more of those as well. I just wanted a little bit more from it. But there were also just some really well written parts of this book, and some of the chapters were just full of emotion and full of meaning, and I took quite a few highlights just when they're talking about certain topics. It was done well where it was done, and very contrasting to the cringy parts as well. It just had a bit of everything. It had a bit of everything, but the bits that I did like, I just wanted more of. It's kind of where I'm going to leave this book, because otherwise I could just keep rambling and repeating myself. And I am really looking forward to reading Out on a Limb by Hannah Bone Young now, because I feel like that one could have all the elements that I liked in this one, like the characters and the way she writes, with less of the spice, so we get more time on the story. I'm definitely looking forward to picking that one up, and I feel like that's probably going to be more for me. So that was people watching. So that's it for this video. So we read 3 books. I need to jog my memory now and remember how we started this. I've been filming for 2 weeks. This video has been going on for just over 2 weeks, so I'm not a very quick reader. I've kind of got to the point now where I don't know where we started 2 weeks ago. So we started with Not Quite Dead Yet by Holly Jackson, and I gave that one 4 stars. That was actually a really good one, although I haven't really thought about it too much since then. The second book, Hemlock and Silver, which I gave 3.5 stars, I've actually thought about a lot more, and I guess I finished that more recently. But the ending of that book I have been thinking about a lot. I think it was just the darkness and the twist that happened and the characters and the world she created. The last half of that book I've definitely been thinking about quite a bit. And then yeah, people watching, 3.5 stars as well. So no 5-star reads, and I am actually going to read a 5-star prediction next because I feel like I need to try for a 5-star read. I need something that I'm just loving all the way through and is exactly my cup of tea. So I have a few that I think I'm going to choose from, but hopefully my next read will be a 5-star. I have had fun starting my fall TBR. Definitely some good October reads, some good start to the season reads, and just ready to get stuck into more autumnal reads. And that's it for this video. So I hope you're all enjoying your October reads too, and your start to your full TBRs, and I'll see you in the next video. Thank you for watching. Bye.